Welcome to Decaturish.com's candidate Q&A. My name is Dan Wisenhunt. I'm editor and publisher of Decaturish.com, and because we are a small company, I'll also be keeping time this evening. Our contributor, Mr. Gabriel Owens, is going to be videotaping this for us, so anybody who can't make it tonight is going to be able to watch this on Decaturish.com later, so thank you for that, and thank you very much if you could give a little hand to the Dekalb Library for on the subject of applause, I'll ask those in attendance to applaud when the candidates are introduced, but to refrain from making any noise this evening so we can get to as many questions as possible. We have with us tonight candidates for mayor, city commission, and school board. Only one race, the Decatur City Commission District 1 Post A seat, is contested this year. I've invited candidates who are not facing any opposition this year to make a short statement. We're going to be going a little bit out of order on that. I've cleared it with the candidates and they're fine. Mayor Garrett's running a little late, as is school board chair Annie Kaola. So we're going to start. Heather Tell, you've got 3 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, and special thanks to Decaturish for organizing the candidate forum. My name is Heather Tell, and I'm running for the City Schools of Decatur's Board of Education, District 2. And the seat is currently held by Ms. Bernadette Seals, who has served distinction for 10 years and is not seeking re-election. My husband Joe and I have lived in Oakhurst since 2002. We have 2 daughters, one in 4th grade at Faith and one in 6th grade at Renfro. Many people have asked me why I'm running for school board, and the answer is simple. It's because I want to be involved in my community. I truly want to make a difference, and I feel passionately about making our schools the best that they can be. I feel compelled to be involved, and this experience has been very enriching. I've gained a lot of insight into our community and schools, and have developed strong relationships with school board members, city commissioners and staff, and many community leaders. You might be wondering how I'm qualified to serve on the board. Much of my qualification is due to my grassroots involvement over many years. I've literally spent thousands of hours volunteering in our schools to support our teachers and staff, PTO, and PTA. I've been elected to serve on the school leadership teams at Oakhurst for a 2-year term, and then at Faith, where I also served as chairperson. During my SLT terms, I worked on elementary school redistricting efforts, reviewed school budgets, crafted school improvement plans, and interviewed many new teachers and staff to support CSD's growth. Other school-related volunteer efforts include serving as the Oakhurst representative for Safe Routes to School program for 4 years, which culminated in being awarded Partner of the Year for Metro Atlanta. But my favorite volunteer activity of all has been serving as room parent in both my children's classes every year, because it is so rewarding to be even a small part of supporting our fantastic teachers, and it's been a lot of fun connecting with the students. My educational and professional background is in engineering and information technology, which will help me to provide a technical and analytical approach as a board member. I have 2 engineering degrees. One is a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and a Master's in Environmental Engineering. I understand the importance of introducing our students to science and technology at an early age, which inspired me to help start the Oakhurst STEAM Club, introducing more advanced topics in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
You have 30 seconds left, let's tell.
Okay, I didn't know about the 3 minutes
for
tonight, sorry. So I'll skip a lot of what I was going to say, and really just wrap it up with. I'm very excited to join a strong team at CSD, who are already providing an excellent education for our children. Several goals that I've identified in my platform include enabling every child to reach his or her highest potential, regardless of ability, providing for students an equitable and challenging education, emphasizing collaboratively, proactively working together with the city leadership, encouraging the integration of science, technology, engineering, and math, focusing on fiscal responsibility, and finally, creating well-rounded students through foreign language, art, music, and athletic education. I'm very excited to serve my community in this new capacity, and I look forward to the opportunity to be a board member of the CSD Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tell. Our board chair, Annie Kaola, has just shown up, and I'm going to give her 3 minutes to talk to you and
sorry for being late this evening. I was stuck in traffic. But I'm Annie Kayola. I was elected to serve on the board 4 years ago, and I have been serving as board chair for the past 2 years. And over the past 4 years, we've done a lot of work. I tell people that when they ask me, what's it like serving on the board, I think, the vast majority of the things that we do are so mundane that you don't want to really hear about them. I mean, approving the contract for the copy machines or something like that. I mean, there are things that are fairly mundane, but I would say about 10%, maybe more than that, is the stuff that really matters. And you have to put up with a lot of stuff that is seemingly unimportant. Granted, it's all important at some level, but some of the stuff is what really changes people's lives. For me, that has been opportunities to protect and empower students with special needs. Is an issue that's always been near and dear to my heart. That includes students who have severe disabilities, where funding for those students has sometimes been put in place, and it requires strong leaders to really step up and protect those students when there's always a cheaper, easier option, choosing to select an option that is sometimes more expensive and more difficult, but yet it's in the best interest of not only just our kids with special needs, but our community as a whole, because it's things that we care about. Students with dyslexia is an issue that we've addressed head-on this past year. We've put a lot of things in place to start giving those students the resources that they've really been needing for a long time, including training all of our kindergarten teachers in Orton-Gillingham, which is something that we've started this past year, is taking one grade level of cohort teachers at a time. This past year was kindergarten teachers. Next year it'll be first grade teachers, that we're going to slowly start to give them the training that they've been needing for a long time to help those students with learning disabilities such as dyslexia. The achievement gap, the difference between black student achievement and white student achievement is something that we have shined a spotlight on this past year. It's a growing problem, and the thing I like about this board and our current superintendent is we're not afraid to shine spotlights in the dark corners of our district, and the achievement gap is one of those areas where we are tackling that. We just hired a new equity director, and one of her primary goals is going to be to attack that issue head on, and it is a tough nut to crack. I can tell you that. There's a lot of
30 seconds left.
Okay. So that's one of the things that we've done over the past 4 years. Hiring a new superintendent, Dr. Duty, I think has been a big step in the right direction. It's taken some transition and some adjustment, but I feel like we're a good team right now on the board. We look forward to having Ms. Tell with us next year and continuing the work with my fellow board members and Dr. Duty. I think we've done a lot of good work over the last 4 years, and I look forward to continuing with those endeavors, including implementing the $75 million bond that the taxpayers entrusted us with last November. We bought some property and made a lot of headway, and we're continuing to make headway on developing and building schools to meet the needs of our students over generations to come. So thank you guys for your trust in me and your support of our leadership on the school board. As a school board member, on behalf of all of the school board, thank you guys for being here. We, of course, we look forward to working with one of these fine candidates here and continuing our strong partnership with the city. Mayor Garrett, thank you for being here to stay this week as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you. She would like to say a few words. Mayor Garrett, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll start with you.
Thank you. And I'm experimenting tonight. I'm using my phone for notes, so, oh, it just went away. But here. But I do thank Dan and Decaturish for sponsoring this, and it's really been my honor to serve on the City Commission for 8 years. It's hard to believe it is coming, the 8th year is ending, and then to serve the past 2 years as mayor. We have, as Andy said with the school board, I think we also have a really great team of folks at the city, and I look forward to working with any of these fine individuals that are running for the District 1 position. I think that we have 4 people running for an open seat is really exciting. I think it shows that we have a lot of people interested in the city and what's happening in the city and how we want to move forward in the next, especially the next 4 years. I wanted to just talk about some of the things and highlight some of the things that I think have been important that we are doing and will be doing over the next several years. We had a Better Together community conversation last night where 100 to 150 or so people came together. It was facilitated by Ed Lee from Emory. He did a great job in having people, talk about difficult issues. And one of the things one of the questions that stuck with me was, what would you sacrifice to make things better in the city of Decatur in terms of, being an equitable, compassionate, just city, and then what do you expect your neighbor maybe to sacrifice in doing that? So I see some folks that were here, and I know a couple of the candidates were there. I think it was a really good community conversation about how do we talk about some of our differences and how do we appreciate people for what they bring to the table. We're also, as you know, opening the Boys and Girls Club for year-round swimming. The Decatur Gators are going to use that facility for practice. And then in January, we should have that open to all of the residents to be able to have some sort of membership similar to what we do with the outdoor pools. That has been something for 8 years that I've been saying there's that great underutilized pool. We have a lot of people that would love to swim year-round for exercise and enjoyment, and so I'm really grateful to Lynn Minnie and to the Boys and Girls Club for working an agreement out that is beneficial to both groups.
30 seconds left.
Oh, and I'm really not. Okay. I just can't leave without mentioning the purchase of the United Methodist Children's Home because it was, I think, a legacy sort of property and decision for the city of Decatur, and we look forward to community input to develop the community master plan starting in January, and I hope all of you here will come and participate because we want that space to be used in a way that the neighborhoods and the city of Decatur would like to have it used. So again, thanks for asking me to participate, and I'm easy to find, and I'm happy to answer questions by email or phone if you ever need to get in touch with me. So thanks.
Thank you very much to our candidates who are uncontested but are still entering into this life of public service. We appreciate you. We appreciate your public service. Now we get to the main event. I'd like to introduce to you, left to right, the candidates for District 1, Post A. And if you please applaud after each one, going left to right. Betty Blondell. Melissa Van Rowe. These candidates have not been given any of these questions in advance, and I'd like to start off by giving each candidate 5 minutes to make opening remarks. We will start with Betty Blondell, and we will move left to right. Betty?
Okay, we get 5 minutes?
5 minutes, just for this question, and one other.
Okay. Thank you, of course, for putting this opportunity together. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. It's great to have the chance to speak to the citizens, because my position is all about listening to you and hearing your needs and your concerns. People, of course, have asked, why are you running? Well, as a lifetime Decatur resident, yes, a lifetime Decatur resident, I love this city. And we've gotten to a crossroads in our progress and in our successes. And I want to be a part of finding the answers to the issues that confront us as we approach this crossroads. I want to listen to you and seek bold, clear solutions to the complex issues before us. I'm beholden to no special interest, have no potential conflicts of interest through any business. I'm retired, so I have lots of time to devote to all of this and lots of energy to go along with that. Following my first career as a high school English teacher, I entered the professional fundraising in the arts, working with the Alliance Theater and Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company. With both of them, I worked with corporate, foundation, government, volunteer boards, and basically built their development programs through my opportunity to work with them. In addition to the professional experience with those theater companies, I've been an advocate and a lobbyist for the arts as well as for local issues. I worked as the co-chair of the Woodlands Garden capital campaign, which enabled the garden to purchase that corner lot at Claremont and Scott Boulevard, and that kind of completes the wonderful public garden that the Morse family has left to Decatur for all of us to enjoy that incredible green space. In addition, I've worked with the Dekalb Junior League in saving and restoring and maintaining the historic Berry Gatehouse. And that has been a wonderful opportunity for us as a public space as well as a great event space that the league is used for funding for our projects, most of which are in the education field. So those are some of my volunteer activities. I have valuable experience in development and planning, working with Good Growth Dekalb, an update of the Dekalb County zoning code, which hadn't been updated in like 50 years, so we really got into planning and development issues there, as well as serving on the District 2 Community Council. Again, that's the group that reports and makes recommendations to the Planning Commission at the county level. Then in my spare time, I serve on the board of our Homeowners Association. In addition, I've worked with our DeKalb delegation at the Capitol each year. I'm down there during those 40 days working on annexation matters, stronger ethics, transparency. So I've got that experience of working with that delegation when we know there are local issues that we have to address. Now, I've been knocking on doors. And when I started this, it was like, oh my God, I don't think that I can stand this. And it's actually been the most fun that I've had. I have met incredible people and listened to their issues, just as I want to listen to your issues, so that I can serve you. That's what I'm all about. So that knocking on doors has showed me how much all of you people love Decatur, just as I do. It's been a wonderful opportunity for me to be out there in this community. I want a livable, sustainable development in the city where I had my roots, and I want to preserve the special quality that makes Decatur different. Thank you.
Got a lot to get through. Thank you. Melissa?
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Thank you, Decaturish. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm Melissa Manroe, and I ask for your vote on November 7th. I believe in community, consensus, and collaboration. That's why I'm running for Decatur City Commission. I'll start by telling you just a bit about myself. I was fortunate enough to go to Emory University, and my first apartment after I graduated from Emory was in the basement of a house on Scott Boulevard, half in the city, half out of the city. After I graduated law school, I came back to Decatur. It's where I wanted to be, and I was fortunate to find a place I could afford to live. And so that's where I settled. I've been here ever since, apart from 2 years in Purgatory, unincorporated DeKalb. Beautiful place, but this is home, and it's home for all of you. I've been fortunate enough to serve on my neighborhood's executive committee, also to serve on the city's infill task force in 2005, and on the planning commission since 2010. I know my experience makes me the best candidate, and it's why I'm asking for your vote tonight. I not only bring experience with the city, but my experience outside the city, working in government, volunteering on boards of not-for-profits. I currently serve as the treasurer for 2, and what I can bring is invaluable. I'm also fortunate because I've just been able to retire as well. I've got time to spare, and I am grateful for the opportunity to serve you as your next commissioner.
Okay. Mr. Murphy, you're next.
Well, my name is Tim Martin, and I'm not retiring. I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, so that is not in the cards. But I do want to thank Dan Decaturish for putting this together. Thank you to the Dekalb Library for hosting this, and also all of you for showing up. This wouldn't be the forum without you. And you're here because you're interested in the future of Decatur. You're also here because you love Decatur. So I'll tell you that I think we have some great candidates. I think everybody up here will do a great job. I'm going to tell you why I think I would do a good job. So I think I have a unique situation. So I was born at Dekalb Hospital, and in 1999 I moved up here to go to Emory. Then I graduated Emory, and we got married in the city. And then my wife, who's a school teacher, she was finishing up school as well. Really got into a career that was hard to buy a house in Decatur. And I was building my practice. I'm a financial advisor. I've been doing that 18 years. I manage people's monies and retirement accounts. So I was just starting that practice. So between the two of us, we really had to save our money. And we saved our money for a long time. We knew we wanted to be a part of Decatur. And 3 years ago, that became a reality when we were able to build a home. So we know what it's like to want to be a part of this community. During that time, I was involved in a lot of different community events. All right, we got an extra fan over there. That's all right, I have 2. I just keep talking. Yeah, that's right. What's great is I've been a part of Decatur through my civic involvement. In 2007, I joined the Decatur Business Association, with a lot of the committees there, and then the past 2 years, I was able to be the president of the DBA. What's wonderful about the DBA is you really get connected, not just to the business community, but to the community as a whole, because you're putting on great events like the beach party and the free concerts. And you get up there and you get to mingle. I did a lot of the emceeing for the concerts, so I got to really meet a lot of people over those times. And what's also great about being a DBA president is you get to introduce the mayor a couple times a year, and that was a pretty neat experience as well. So my point of bringing that up is I really got to work with the downtown people that make things happen in the city. And I know how hard it is to get things done. So I've made some great relationships with the DBA because it's really an extension of the city government. So very excited to really transition, hopefully, from that role into an elected official. I think there's a lot of relationships there that will help guide that process. Been involved with the Decatur Rotary. We do a lot of great things for at-risk youth, for literacy. I was able to raise a lot of money being a president and chair of the Rotary Foundation. So we raised a good bit of money for that and really put some dollars into the community. So it's really been an enjoyable experience being a part of Decatur, even though I was just outside waiting to move in. Really involved in my church. I'm an elder in the Presbyterian Church. I go to Claremont Presbyterian. Been on the board there for 5 years. So I know what it's like to work with people, listen to people, and really get their input and move it forward. Just some other things about my values. I'll tell you that my wife's crazy, but I'll give out my cell phone number. If you need to get a hold of me, let me know, and I will be there to listen to you. This process started about 8 months ago for me, really looking at running for the commission. Just like Melissa said and Betty said, you meet a lot of great people during this experience. And I've enjoyed every bit of it. We really have a wonderful, wonderful city. All of our citizens have a lot to offer. They really care. They're very engaged. And I know that we can always make the communication better between the city commission and also our residents. So any way that I could bring that to the commission, it'd be wonderful.
30 seconds, Mr. Murray.
Okay. Safety is a big deal, and affordable housing are the two things that hopefully I'll get to talk about tonight. This place has changed a lot in the last 30 years, and I think for the good. And right now it's time to make some tough decisions. So over being a part of the commission, I'll be able to do that. And also, we need to be able to get around. We need to get around safely. And I have 2 kids at Westchester, right on Scott Boulevard. We need to make that even more
5
safe.
seconds, Mr. Murray.
Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Please. Ms. Walsh.
Thank you. How's this my birthday, okay?
Yes.
Good evening. I am Kelly Walsh. I'm thrilled to be here. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces, too. Thanks to the Dekalb County Library and Dan at Decaturish and his team, all the other candidates, and of course our elected officials. I'm so glad we're here together tonight. I want to take a minute to tell you a little bit about myself and my family. I've lived in Decatur since 2005. I actually came to Atlanta in '99 to work for UPS. I was recruited after my MBA to work at the headquarters in international marketing and strategic planning. I did that for about 7 years, and along the way I met Pat, my husband, and we started our family, and lucky for me, I settled in Decatur. We absolutely love living here. I think it's a fantastic city, a neat place to live. I think we somehow found this intersection of urban and suburban, right? Kind of magic in a bottle. And I don't think it's replicated in too many other places. So I believe in Decatur, I love Decatur, and we enjoy living here, and I feel like we're thriving. And I feel like our city's thriving. That's really one of the reasons why I'm running. I think we live in a city that has a lot of opportunity and a really compelling future. I think we're going to be able to work together on a lot of things that will help us navigate some of the changes we've seen. We've had fantastic, if you will, incredible, big, explosive growth over the last 5 or 6 years. I think there's been some unintended consequences of that growth. Some would say we can be the victim of our own success. What I really think that means is we just have to rally together and get aligned on a vision that takes us to the place where we want to be over the next decade and even generation. Decatur offers some things that remind me of the small town that I grew up in. I grew up in a little town called Sheridan, Wyoming. Not little for Wyoming standards, actually. It's about 13,000 people. And it had a lot of the attributes that Decatur has that makes it a really working city, a city that works for its people and supports them and helps them thrive, maybe almost regardless of the circumstances. So despite some challenges I may have had, there are a lot of things that supported my growth and development. And there are things that I want to run on as far as this campaign goes, and things that I want us to talk about, have dialogue, and consider together that we can enhance and protect. And that's about walkability, first and foremost, and that includes multimodal transportation, bicycles, and connectivity with paths and shuttles, for example. I want to continue to plan the best things possible for our green space, and we have a recent acquisition of tremendous green space. It gives us opportunity for so many people, every citizen in our town can take advantage of it. I'd like to work on fostering diversity, which has a multitude of things underneath it, but it includes working on affordable housing and amplifying and increasing the number of affordable homes that we have for a range of people who need affordable houses, not just low income, but middle income, seniors, for example. And finally, how can we support this wonderful mix all together, the soil, the air, the water, the sun, that creates this environment where we are healthy, we thrive, and we have great schools. We have an excellent public school system. I'm a product of a great public school system, and I don't underestimate what that means for all of us. So if we can support our partners in the school system, not only the parents and the students, but our teachers, and of course our school board, I'd like to be the commissioner on the team that builds that bridge and is that personal liaison. So it's going to take a leader with vision and discipline, and someone who can toggle back and forth from 30,000 foot down to the ground level, a little bit like Ms. Kayla said about the 90% versus the 10%. Not always working on exactly what you thought you'd be working on, but it all comes together to the outcome that you plan for. So the next 2 years are really going to set the tone for the next 20, I'd say, but certainly the next 4 of commissioner's term is going to mean a lot to where the city's headed. As we go into the next planning phase for 2020 and beyond, I'd like to bring my strategic mindset and skills to that effort. not to mention the master planning for the United Methodist Children's Home. What I really want us to do is get in the room together more often like this. I definitely am a fan of social media as far as it telling us
30 seconds.
where to be when, but I don't think it can replicate us getting in a room like this together, having dialogue, having questions and answers, hopefully agreeing on a lot and sometimes disagreeing, but agreeing to be respectful when we disagree. So I want to be that kind of leader for City of Decatur, for District 1 Commissioner. I'll continue to work hard for your vote, but more than that, to trust in my leadership. So thank you for your time, and I thank you in advance for your questions and for being here on a Monday night after Irma and after a fall break and all those things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to our first question. We've got a lot to get through, so let's just hold our applause to the end. Our first question tonight is going to be about crime. Crime happens even in Decatur. The City of Decatur Police Department reports that crime in 2016 decreased 21% overall compared with 2015, but there was a 117% increase in robberies. Decatur typically sees more property crime than violent crime. That said, do you think the city's current level of crime is acceptable, and what would you do as a city commissioner to make the city safer? We'll start with Mrs. Manroe. 3 minutes.
No level of crime is acceptable. No one should ever be a victim of crime. No one should ever have to deal with the consequences of crime. Having said that, there are many things we can do as citizens. There are many things that our police department can do with us. We play a part in keeping ourselves safe. We're not responsible for being a victim, but we can prevent ourselves from being a victim. So we can all educate ourselves, we can remain aware of our surroundings, but most of all, we can keep in contact with our police department. We can make sure we know what they advise. We can make sure we listen when they tell us the best ideas for remaining safe and for engaging in our community in the safest possible way. So I believe in our police department. I know that they have a strong strategic plan that's focused on the next 3 years. Part of that plan involves increased community engagement. They are also striving for accreditation in the next 3 years. I know a lot about accreditation. It's what I did in my most recent job. And I think that accreditation plan will only make them a stronger police department and only make us safer. It has something to offer, whether you are a member of Black Lives Matter, whether you are fiscally conservative, because it spans every possible facet of law enforcement, including community outreach and community safety.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
3 minutes.
I think our services in the city are fantastic. I really do. And one of those is our police department. Getting to know Chief Booker through the DVA, he comes to every meeting. It's just been a joy and delight. To answer the question is absolutely, we've got to work on our crime. I would say that what we can do is maybe add more to our police force. If we can find some money to do that, I think that would always help. I do think patrolling the streets is something that I've got a lot of feedback from, just from out knocking on doors. Some of the streets that I've gone on, they're like, we would like to have more of a police presence, and we're not seeing that. So that's something that we can give feedback to our police department for. Let them know that we, as citizens, will not accept any crime whatsoever. It's very unfortunate that this stuff happens, but luckily it's not violent. I feel safe where I live. I hope that you feel safe where you live, but we can always improve that.
Mrs. Walsh, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I spent some time at crimereports.com earlier today, actually, and it's the website that the city recommends that you subscribe to get alerts for your particular neighborhood. And Dan is absolutely correct that violent crime is quite low and is actually very flat over the last 6 or 9 months of this year. I certainly would have zero tolerance for violent crime in our town. And property theft, though, is somewhat high. We have to remember, obviously, that we're a little in-town suburb nestled in a much larger metropolitan area. So it behooves us as citizens, obviously, too, to take responsibility about safety around our homes and our property. And I think we have really good guidance by our city in various ways on how to do that. And I agree that we have an optimized police force. I would certainly protect the budget that they have and listen closely to the views of their leadership on what they need. I'm currently in leadership Dekalb with Sergeant Scott Richards, and I've also met Chief Booker several times. I think we have fantastic leadership in them, and not to mention Lieutenant Ross, who reaches out to us via social media. So I think it's really about meeting together, meeting each other where we are. They provide tremendous resources. Let's take more advantage of those, and I want to support them financially in any way I can. And of course, by doing so, they're also strategic planning and I think doing a comprehensive view of how they operate right now. So if we have learnings from that, I want to move forward to support them if it has a budget or a personnel impact, and to make sure that Decatur stays the safe place that we feel it to be now.
Okay. 3 minutes, Ms. Waldo.
All right. One thing is, one of my real issues that I want to run on is increasing transparency so that citizens are aware of issues, not after they happen, but before they happen. So to raise awareness of citizens of what's going on in this city. One of the problems of our success is that now suddenly we look like a community that there's a lot of stuff that people are going to be breaking into cars and so forth. So we need to raise awareness among citizens. And I was fortunate enough to do Decatur 101, and I got a call in to do my Ride with a Cop, where we have the opportunity to spend a day riding with one of our police officers. And I think that is going to be an amazing experience for me, because we've mentioned that additional police visibility is a huge thing. The police car is parked in the neighborhood, suddenly crime is less than it was, speeding is less than one. So enormous support of our police department is really critical to meet this problem that seems to be growing. So we need to work with the police to raise citizen awareness, to educate us about what we can do, and show the great respect that we all have for those police officers. Enormous support for them as we move forward to deal with one of the issues of our success.
Thank you very much. Our next question has to do with Decatur's debt. With the purchase of the United Methodist Children's Home, the city of Decatur's total debt is now more than $180 million, a number that includes debt accumulated for school construction and the $40 million used to buy the children's home. Records provided by the city of Decatur show that Decatur will spend $10.5 million this year paying off debt. To put that in perspective, the city's total general fund budget is $25.2 million. The city will spend more paying off its debt than it will spend on police and fire services, which will cost the city $9.3 million this year. Mr. Martin, starting with you, do you think the city of Decatur has too much debt for a city of its size? You have 3 minutes.
Well, you only take on debt when you need things. And when you look at that United Methodist Children's Home property, that is a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition for us to add 77 acres. So you had to do it, okay? It is a fantastic thing that got done by the commission. Mayor Garrett helped get that done. So that was a necessity. Secondly, we have our schools are growing. We've got to grow our facilities. So that was necessary as well. So these things that we have, they're out of necessity. And it really is a result of how wonderful this place is because people want to live here. So in my business, what I do is I help people with their money. And currently, I manage over $50 million in assets under management. So when you talk about a $25 million operating budget, I manage that twice amount every single day for my clients. And they come to me, and I help them achieve their goals, dreams, and desires. So talking about these big numbers is something that does not intimidate me. It's something I'm used to. And to answer your question, these things are this debt that we took on was stuff that we had to do. And hopefully, especially with the United Methodist Children's Home, that's something that it has a 5-year callable bond. So hopefully we can pay that off within 5 years. Sometimes when you take out these bonds, you have to wait 10 years to pay them off. So that would be my goal, is to help whatever we can to get done, to hopefully knock off that $40 million within 5 years. Thank you.
Ms. Walsh. Walsh, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I agree that the use of taking on debt to fund the purchase of the United Methodist Children's Home was absolutely prudent and necessary, and it was the right time, and the city was poised to do it. Luckily for us, we've been very fiscally conservative, and we were agile enough in that way to be able to jump on that opportunity after years of cultivating that relationship and be the right buyer at the right time. You can take that all the way down to the individual level, but folks who invest wisely, save their money, and have good credit when the opportunity arises, for example, for a home, they can do their deal and get to the finish line that they want to get to. So I think that taking on that debt was important. It also took us through a process of evaluating our bond rating, and we came out of that with a better bond rating than we had before. Another component of that I want to mention, I've been going to the Public Facilities Authority meeting to make sure I understand the mechanics of the financing behind that and how we're doing the actual, how we made the purchase, for example. And we wisely and in an opportunistic way we moved over 11 and change million of debt for the green space conservation piece that we were offered through the Georgia Environmental Funding Authority. So a component of that debt we now get at an even better rate at a savings of millions of dollars over the life of the term. So I think we've been really smart about taking on debt. We have a good debt ratio and a high bond rating. We will pay that off as quickly as possible. I think we have a proven track record of doing so. So that's what I'd like to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wanda,
Yes.
3 minutes.
All right. One thing that's coming up on the November 7th voting, when you go to vote, will be the SPLOST issue. And in that SPLOST, Decatur's going to come out a little bit better than we have before. So when you go in to vote for me, for the commission, I would encourage that you look at that SPLOST. It's a penny tax, and the way it's been structured, it's going to be a better thing for the city of Decatur and for the cities than it was in the past. So I would certainly encourage that. I agree with the other candidates that Decatur handles their finances well. We have a lot going for us. You have to pay for that wonderfulness that Decatur is. And it feels that we're managing that well. With the Methodist Children's Home purchase, as was mentioned, we got that really great rate on that debt for that piece of property. So I think all of those things are just things we have to live with if we want to be in a community that's like this community. And all of us are going to complain a little bit about taxes, but then when we look at what we get, then I think it's okay. And I'm happy enough to answer that concern that people have. You know, what would you do without? If we want to cut back, what are we going to stop doing? And I don't think any of us want to stop the wonderful growth that we've seen. We just want to do it in a smart way and examine the bold ways and new ways to face all of these challenges. So I'm okay with where Decatur has been handling its finances.
Ms. Monroe, 3 minutes.
The first question is, do we trust our staff? Do we trust our city? Everything I see from our city staff, I find trustworthy. They're fine people, they're well-informed, they stay alert to the trends around the country and in our local area. Every community has debt. We have debt too. And the question is our debt in line with other similar cities? Everything I see tells me that it is. So the bigger question too, if you're going to have debt, does our community approve of the debt? Well, we just approved a lot of school spending. Our community overwhelmingly said, yes, we want to spend this money. And so while we may not have had a vote on the United Methodist Children's Home, I have yet to hear a single person say, oh, no, we shouldn't want it. They might have said, wow, that's a lot of money. And it is a lot of money. But We have SPLOST, hopefully to be approved. It will take care of a lot of very important infrastructure for the city and for communities around the county. And so we as a community have clearly said we believe in these things and we're going to pay and we're going to vote with our pocketbook. Else we would not have had such an overwhelming approval of our school referendum.
Thank you. Our next question, speaking of debt, concerns the United Methodist Children's Home. As you know, the city completed the purchase of the property this year, and there will be a master planning process for the property in 2018. What are some of your ideas for ways the city could use the property? Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond, and we will start with Kelly Walsh.
Boy, 2 minutes is not enough. I currently sit on the Active Living Advisory Board, a citizens board nominated by the commission, and we're looking closely at the opportunities for planning for the green space. I recently created a survey for our board because I think we, in this instance, can be thought leaders for the whole city to even pre-prepare the environment for planning, if that makes sense. I wanted us to really get out ahead of what environment do we want to create for planning as far as how we select consultants to get to some answers for the property. I think it will be a fantastic resource for citizens of all ages and walks of life. We will use it for passive and active use. I could see us having cultural and arts opportunities there as well. It can be a haven for seniors to do activities. It has a lot of healthy infrastructure already, so we can take advantage very quickly of athletic fields. We've got monies, the city authorized money to shore up the existing athletic fields, so soccer's going to start right away there. The pool's functioning but small, but the indoor gym will also be a big asset. I see through my lens, working on the Active Living Board, that we just don't have enough shared space for our students and our whole population for athletics and recreation and sports. So I think that will be one component. I'd like to see us build a multi-purpose athletic track
30 seconds.
with 8 lanes. I'll be very specific about that. I think there's a neat opportunity for that as a shared asset, potentially even an economic development opportunity. We can host regional meets with teams from around the state. We have a 5A high school, and I just really want to correlate an outstanding athletic space for the kind of high school that we have that excels in the arts and can excel in sports. So I see a lot of wonderful opportunities for all of our citizens, and I hope all of our citizens get involved in the planning process, because this is for everybody. This is our central park, and I also want to help name it.
Mrs. Blondo, 2 minutes.
Yes, oh, this is one that I'm really excited about. Green space, green space, green space. And I love it that we will have the opportunity to create another place where we can save some of those gorgeous old growth trees that are so unique to Atlanta, as we did with Woodlands Garden. Atlanta, unlike most cities where they tore down all the trees to build it up, Atlanta in this area kept our old growth tree canopy. Seems like it's going away too fast for me, but here's an opportunity with Methodist Children's Home space. And I've done the walk through the area with the arborists, and there are wonderful trees that we need to be sure we preserve. Let's not cut down those trees to put up some more buildings. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to have that green space. It's not downtown, I'm still about green space downtown, but it does give this city a great opportunity. My team wouldn't let me have a picture of me hugging a tree. That might be a little bit too much, but that really is a very, very important issue to me. And I want to hear your concerns and interest about that. I hope you're on the same team with saving that green space.
Thank you. 2 minutes, Ms. Monroe.
At a minimum, Decatur was in desperate need of more green space, so I cannot thank our current commission and our city staff enough for cultivating the relationship and seizing the opportunity when they had that chance. We've made a historic decision in this city to save really important space for us. So no matter what, we've got a beautiful opportunity for green space. What comes after that has to come from you, our community. You have to tell us what you want us to do with it next. And so I'm very excited about the opportunity to serve as your commissioner and hear what you want to do, because, again, the passive opportunities are incomparable. People need access to great need. The active opportunities, what's there already is a fantastic thing, and we will do more to shore it up. And so, at a minimum, that green space is a great gift, not just for us, but for future generations.
Thank you. 2 minutes, Mr. Martin.
So I live in Rosewalk, which is a dare park, and it's really close to the stadium, Decatur Stadium. So I hear children practicing at 10:30 at night. And I know some parents have to wake their kids up at 5 to get them there to practice. So one of the things, we've got to expand our athletic fields and not have our kids so bunched up in practicing so late and so early in the morning. So that'll give us a lot more space. What I think is the biggest opportunity with this United Methodist Children's Home is really to build some workforce housing. We talk about socioeconomic diversity in Decatur, and we have an opportunity here to transition some of these structures that are already there into either tiny homes or efficiency apartments for our teachers, for our policemen, for our government employees. I think that would be a fantastic way to use this space. Also through the active living, I think it's very important for our seniors to have a place to go and to do some things as well. So, and of course, like everybody has said, green space is important. I think we've protected over 23 acres already, so we know that's going to happen, and of course the rest of it will work. And really get your input. I want to know what you think about it. It's not what I think about it, it's what you think about it. And we're going to, hopefully in January, start doing a public input process where we can hear what you really want to do with that space.
Thank you. Hold your applause. Thank you. For this next question, let's talk about traffic. As you know, there are several roads and intersections around the town that the community would like to make safer, either through speed control or opening it up to more walkers and bikers. Will you please tell us what you think are the most problematic roads and intersections in our city and offer a suggestion about how you would fix these problems? We're going to give each candidate 4 minutes for this one, then we're going to start with Betty Blondo.
Ooh, okay. Yes, certainly the Scott Boulevard thing, and I know we have to work with the Georgia Department of Transportation because that's a state road, and try to control that. That certainly is one area. Downtown Decatur is another traffic issue. People should be safe walking in Decatur. And it's a shock to me to hear that every week there are 3 or 4 some kind of incident about safety of pedestrians. Thus, the traffic people speed through the downtown. One thought that I had, and here's another thing that I would need to look at the cost of this, but again, that police presence. When I see a police car and a blue flashing light, if I'm going too fast, I slow down. So if there's any way to increase police presence in that downtown area, on the Scott Boulevard, and I understand that the Westchester School, usually a policeman's there in the morning when the kids get there and in the afternoon, but in between, there have been horrible accidents in that area. So somehow to find a way to increase police presence. So certainly that downtown area, Scott Boulevard, seemed to me to be the most critical areas that we need to look at in terms of controlling traffic. I know that the city has allocated money next year to do a traffic and transportation study. And I'm sure that these issues are going to be a part of what those consultants bring to us as solutions. Again, I want to be sure that your voices are heard. I want to listen to your concerns about the most dangerous areas in your neighborhood, and let you be a part of what the consultants are advising, rather than coming to a public meeting after the consultancy has been done and hearing what was the result. Let's get some input from you as the consultants are working on this issue. So once again, it's listening to you as we face these issues. And that's another one of my big issues, would be traffic and transportation. So we just have to have bold answers. We have to listen to you, the citizens, to hear your thoughts before we hear the consultant's report. So.
Okay. Ms. Monroe, 4 minutes.
I think anybody who's spent any amount of time in Decatur has a favorite, least favorite traffic intersection. I mean, don't we all? Because we all kind of tend to go into the same patterns. Not only are we small, but we have a lot of people coming through our town to get to other places. And even when I'm frustrated, what I remind myself is this. You may need to travel through our town. We don't have to make it quick or easy for you. I'm sorry, we don't. We don't. There are places we can't actually stop or disrupt traffic like Scott Boulevard because we don't control. But there are many things we can do, all of us. Maybe taking a deep breath is the first one I say myself. Breathe as you drive. And the second, there are lots of good plans in progress already for traffic calming at some of my least favorite intersections, Commerce and Claremont. Oh my goodness. There are a couple things that make it a really dangerous intersection, and hopefully those are going to be addressed soon. West Ponce and Commerce. It was no surprise to me that it took about 2 hours of Irma taking out power before someone got hit. I hope that they are okay. All of us need to slow down. It's hard. We get busy. We're running late. But traffic calming is not the same as congestion. So there are lots of good things we can do. Anytime we make a street more walkable, we make it safer for everyone. Slower speed is always a safer speed. If God forbid there should be something like that. So traffic calming is some of it here, more is coming. I hear lots of questions actually about the brick pavers at crosswalks, some of which are not surviving very well. New fresh paint around the square on the crosswalks. Those are all visual cues to help us remember to slow down because we all get busy and we all need that reminder. So there are lots of good ideas, and I'm sure each one of you has a really good idea too. I hope you keep sharing, because I know over the years the city has asked repeatedly, where do you walk? Where do you bike? What's your morning route? Do you drive? Do you take a car? I was really tickled when I heard, it's been 6 or 7 years ago, that my neighborhood is the most walking neighborhood in the city, Decatur Heights. More people reported that they walk or bike in my neighborhood than any other part of the city. We have a couple of favorite loops, all of us in our neighborhood. I know you all do too, because I was tickled. On Saturday, I was in a neighborhood shaking hands, and I was seeing people walk the loop in their neighborhood like we do in ours. It makes us healthier and better citizens, so traffic is with us. I don't think it'll ever leave us, but we can all do things to make ourselves safer.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, 4 minutes.
So, I'm a Westchester parent, and I have 2 kids, one 6 that's going to 1st grade at Westchester, and one that will be there next year. He's at college class. So Scott Boulevard's a big deal. Is there a magic bullet to make it safer? No. Is there people that have worked really hard the last 5 years at Westchester, their safety group, to really incrementally make it safer? Absolutely. So I want to be a champion on the commission, someone that's going to be voicing their opinion and raising their hand to make sure that we are always addressing Scott Boulevard. I think it's a big deal. Some ideas, we've got some things going on. We just got some grant money to do a hawk signal, so that's fantastic. There's some other things that we can do. Are we ever going to be able to get the speed limit below 40? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen because the average speed has to be lower than that. And that's the only way you get a speed limit to go down. So I don't know if that will happen, but we can at least keep pressing the issue between the city pressing it, the Westchester Safety Committee pressing it. We just got to keep that conversation going. West Howard. Right now they're going through a re-imaging of West Howard. It is like an expressway over there if you live near West Howard. It is 4 lanes and people fly. That's where we walk a lot of times with our children, especially when we pop out to walk downtown, and people are going really fast. What I will tell you what I think is a good idea is they're going to stripe it. They're going to do some traffic calming there, and they're basically going to paint it down. So they're going to have a bike lane, they're going to have a buffer, and they're going to have 2 lanes. But what I like about it is they're just going to paint it to see how it works. And if it doesn't work, we'll be able to fix it. So before we take our hard-earned tax dollars and invest in curbs and things that may not work, we're going to at least be able to try it out. I got an email this week about a resident who lives at North Decatur and Superior. There's been some fatalities right there. That's just almost a forgotten little piece of Decatur. Do y'all even know that Decatur includes North Decatur Road right there? So yeah, those are our citizens. I actually rented one of those houses when I was going to college. So I'm very familiar with that 4-lane road. So there's some things we've got to do, we've got to work on. But I promise when I get on the commission, that'll be an issue that I'm going to champion, traffic safety.
Thank you. 4 minutes, Ms. Walsh.
Thank you. We absolutely have to put pedestrian safety first. That's been a mantra of mine since I joined the Active Living Board, and in the second year that I chaired, I created the pedestrian subcommittee, and we've had some fantastic leadership on that committee. A neighbor on Garden Lane, you may know Jack Kittle, and I don't know how many steps he puts on his Fitbit, but he created or started a process by which we began to inventory and do an audit of all the crosswalks and sidewalk problems around the city. And that has evolved into a staff project that's just amazing. And any of us can get on and see what sidewalk projects are being worked on, and that evolution over the years has been very, I think, beneficial. That support what the city already had the desire to do, but maybe not the capacity at the time. So that's a great example of getting pedestrian safety out in front of a lot of other issues. I like to think of it in 2 realms, 2 bookends. I have 2 kids here in city schools. I didn't give them a shout out earlier because they always tell me I embarrass them. But I'll have at least 1 kid crossing Commerce every school day for the next 8 years. So I think about this a lot. I don't think he goes over by a Dare in West Howard at this point, but I know about that intersection very well too as a runner and a walker myself. We all have a pain point intersection that we think about, but we've got to take them all into account, prioritize our work on them. We're doing some great stuff at the West Howard Adair intersection. I've been to the working session on proposals to improve flow and pedestrian safety at what the West Howard Adair reimagined, and that'll be a semi-permanent fix that we might learn some things from that we could apply to other intersections, for example. There's been a multi-pronged citizens approach working with our city government and the DOT. I'm really proud on behalf of Westchester and some friends of mine that serve on the safety committee and friends who've been on that PTA since the redistricting, and they got way out ahead. They approached our Active Living Board and said, how can we work together and how can we make sure this intersection of forces between city schools and active living, which is safe routes to school, how can we make this the vehicle that we use to improve pedestrian safety at Westchester? And they made a lot of great strides in the last couple of years, and I know they have a lot more plans in place to work toward more improvements there. I'll address North Superior and Superior North Decatur as well. Paul Walker died on his bike about 5 years ago, and I don't think most of us will ever get over that. And I don't think we want to see that happen anywhere else, not a pedestrian and not a bicyclist. So certainly, let's make pedestrian safety, when you take it in the 2 rounds, we make it safe for kids, and we make it safe for seniors, and everyone in the middle is going to do pretty well. I live near some senior complexes on Claremont, I'm at Erie and Claremont, and there's some great tweaks you can do, short of infrastructure, short of spending money as well, that include timing of lights, and that's about getting on C-Click Fix, calling David Younger, call me, and Fred Boykin met a couple of us at Claremont one morning to look at another intersection I'd like to mention, which is a pain point that I see every day, which is Claremont-Wilton in Michigan. And it's just a gritty, weird three-pronged intersection that makes no sense to drivers.
30 seconds.
It barely makes sense to kids. And Miss Gloria over there isn't paid enough to get our kids safely across that intersection. So I know these intersections well, and I transit them a lot, and I would really like to work on getting them as safe as possible for our kids, our seniors, and all of us in the middle. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Annexation is a topic that is likely to come up during your term on the City Commission if you are elected. My question for each of you Should the city try to annex more property, and what should it try to annex? Each candidate will have 2 minutes. We'll start with Melissa Monroe.
Well, the city has tried several times to annex. There's been, I think, a pretty clear response from the targeted areas. A pretty clear no, thank you. To me, looking at the balance, and I'm not the first person to see this, the balance of commercial versus residential in this city doesn't really make for a healthy financial balance. Not when we look at traditional balances. We have about, I think it's 80% residential and about 20%, perhaps a little less, that's commercial. It should be more like 60-40. Annexation would allow us to balance that out a bit. But there would always be neighborhoods and/or buildings in that annexation area. And so the question is going to come back up. I'm certain of that. I don't know that anyone from the city is going to bring it up in the near term because I hear that I think they're a little tired of being told no. So I do have friends who live just outside the city who very much would love to be in the city. But it's a 100% annexation situation with 3 or 4 houses and they're at the end and the folks in between don't want to agree. So on the whole, we would be healthier if we had a better commercial residential mix. We're pretty healthy now, so we're pretty fortunate. There's been careful fiscal management. Does it make sense? Sure. Will there be more municipalization in DeKalb County? I think so, because that's the trend. And we're probably going to end up with no unincorporated DeKalb County at some point. Should we sit by and watch another municipality take what is close to us?
30 seconds.
That may be the question in the long term. We'll see.
Mr. Martin, you have 2 minutes.
Well, this is absolutely right. We have a digestive 80% residential and 20% commercial. That's just not enough. So we've got to look at opportunities. What is really striking is we have a lot of properties in this 4 square miles that are not even taxed. We have a lot of government facilities. We have Scott. We have Columbia Seminary. These are big properties that are not producing any tax revenue. So any chance that you have to bring in some more commercial properties would be fantastic. So you've got, so anytime that you're talking about annexation, you've got to work with the school board because what happens if you start annexing areas, it may bring in more kids. So you've got to work with them and make sure that they're on board as well. You know, where is the potential? Where can you annex? I do think there's some places off Church Street that would love to be in the city, but I don't know if they match right up with our footprint. So I don't know what we will have to do, but we'll have to get out there and really talk to some folks. I know Medlock Park, you know, has wanted to be in the city in the past, and maybe they're looking at joining Atlanta. But they don't want to be on an island. We don't want to just annex around them and leave them with, you know, just this island as county property, or not even in the city. So there's some conversations that we can start again, and I think we should do that so we can really work out that 80-20 digest and bring up that 20 where it makes a lot more sense. So we're not all us residents, you know, really paying that burden when we can have more commercial. Thank you.
2 minutes, Ms. Walsh.
I think with annexation as a topic, one thing we're really talking about is sustainability. So as we go through master planning in the next couple of years to prepare ourselves for 2020 and beyond, I think we'll get a chance to really do some soul searching about how we want that digest to look, what our goals and metrics around shifting it would be, and that can inform the type of annexation, yes or no, and where and how much. So I think it's about setting goals around being sustainable without it, seeing what that looks like, and then saying what strategically makes sense and what makes sense for Decatur and the neighborhoods that we want to work with on that. I feel like the next time the topic comes up, we'll be much better prepared than the last time. I feel like maybe it's an iterative process where we get to learn from the last go, and that our city staff has done a lot of hard work and due diligence on what are the best prospects for us. I think the United Methodist Children's Home took some steam out of the annexation question to a degree as far as the green space question. Another thing I'd like to mention, though, is my experience working with Dr. Duty over the last year and a half, almost 2 years he's been here, is that he's highly analytical, and he has not had the question of students and number of kids who would come into our system. It's not a blind spot at all for him. And he's built his own metrics and forecasting methodology
30 seconds.
around what that would look like. I'd like to see more of that updated and see what it looks like, and I know that we would be better prepared than ever to do some annexation. I think some areas along Sycamore and around the hospital might be close, easy wins where we could all work together and both sides would benefit. That's one idea, but I think we have to take a long, hard look at it.
Thank you. Ms. Blanco, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Annexation is an issue that's come up with the Dekalb delegation for the last 2 or 3 years. That always comes up, and it comes down to, you know, does Decatur, do they just want the commercial, and then the neighborhoods, we've got all these kids, so you take that money away from Dekalb County kids, and is that a good thing? Because if you annex those rich commercial areas, certainly would enrich Decatur, but it would take millions of dollars out of the Dekalb County school system. So that issue has come up with the local delegation. How do you deal with that kind of balance? Decatur kids, Dekalb County kids. How are we going to look at that? It's definitely been a very fiery issue for several years. Didn't come up this session, as we have mentioned. But one thing we haven't mentioned as a way to enrich our coffers is impact fees. We have this massive development. Developers are dying to get into Decatur. Where's the study of impact fees to get into Decatur? So that may be something that I know the city is looking at that. And that's a way that we can go that would make that 80-20 balance a little bit healthy.
Thank you very much. Our next question is about apartments. As you know, there are apartments popping up all over Decatur. There is currently a plan to develop 232 apartments on the Bank of America property at Claremont Avenue. Do you support building more apartments within the city of Decatur? If so, why? If not, what would you do to limit the development of apartments in the city? Each candidate will have 3 minutes for this, and we'll start with Mr. Martin.
So when I'm out talking to people running for this election, I'm hearing that we are losing our diversity in Decatur. This place does not look the same as it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago when I moved here. It's just not. So what we're doing is we're becoming a city for only people who have these extraordinary means to buy a house and live here. So the answer is absolutely. I think that there's a way to keep people coming to Decatur. I don't think it's fair to say, we're here, nobody else can come. I think a lot of people want to experience Decatur. They want to have their kids go to school here. So apartments is a way to do that. Now, I will say that the Bank of America property is one of those properties that I think is a net positive. If there are children that move in, that means that it's not going to be a burden on the school system. I think they've planned for it. So I think that is actually going to be a good thing. And also there's a possible density bonus that could happen, where that means there'll be more affordable housing or affordable apartment spaces for people that want to live here and work here. So yes, I do support more apartments.
Thank you. Mrs. Walsh, 3 minutes.
I've taken a really close look at the Bank of America development proposition because I think it's a crucible for this question that we're all having. How much more can we take? How many more people can we bring in under the umbrella? And I certainly don't want to pull up the ladder. I think this is a great place to live, and I'd like more and different people to be able to come here and experience it too, and sit side by side with us at sports games and be in our schools and volunteer. So I'm not against the building or development of more apartments per se. And in fact, Bank of America, interestingly, is checking all the boxes as far as that permitting process. They really came all the way through planning in a conforming way. And the only reason they were at the commission meeting was to ask for the density bonus that our city gives guidance that we would like. You know, the density bonus of 20% would provide 55-year-old plus affordable housing units. So what's the trade-off there? Do we not offer that? There's more units, but they're affordable. We can hope that if we do this smart, it could be the example of smart development and generate a tax base with the retail and office space that we'll offer, and offset by twice, in fact, what it will cost to put the kids in our schools. So it was a very smart proposal. It checks all the boxes for Decatur, but what I hear out in the community is a disconnect saying, I didn't know this was coming, I'm not sure I want it, will there be too much traffic and too many kids? So I think we have a disconnect and a blind spot as individuals and citizens about what's coming. So we've got to get out and be proactive about understanding what's coming from the Planning and Zoning Commission, but know that the Bank of America project has offered us a lot of opportunities that we've said in our planning that we would like. They said some 30 students may come from that building. Let's say it's 40. I want to address what the real impact of that is. Say it's 40 students. That's actually 2 classrooms. I don't know, for example, right now, can 2 of our elementary schools add a classroom each? And if that means a trailer or a cottage court, then I think folks will really be wondering if that was the right move. So I want us to look at this from a 360 view and make decisions about it together.
Thank you very much. Refresh my memory, did I say we have 3 or 2 on that one?
I believe you said 3.
Thank you very much. Getting my wires crossed. Just one 3 minutes.
Okay, we touched on the transparency thing, and that's what I hear as I knock on doors and talk to people and hear their concern. It's like, where did that come from? Well, the truth of the matter is they've been working on that deal for like 15 years, if what I'm hearing is correct. Various owners of that property, and how do we make it work for all of us? So finally, this has come. We were at the commission meeting, and actually the numbers kind of sort of work. The way they presented it to us, that the number of students that are being projected, the retail will cover, you know, that impact. But again, it comes back to that transparency, that people feel like the wall's been pulled over their heads. Well, what do you mean 232 apartments on Commerce and Church? That's ridiculous. So that's the thing I want to work on, being able to know and to say to my constituents, these are the things we're looking at. What do you think about that? What's another way to approach this that's going to be better? So let's have those things out in public. And I understand you can't negotiate a contract with the owner in public. That's going to happen, you know, behind those closed doors. But I want to be in that room where it happens. And if you've seen Hamilton, the musical, there's a great number, a rap number in there, that I want to be in the room where it happens. And I want to know, as your commissioner, your feelings about it, and I want you to know that we're talking about these things. So, and once again, the impact fees, let's look at that some more. Let's continue to study that. Could that help in these negotiations? Again, those apartments, though, do offer us the chance to increase the diversity. This is one of the bywords with Decatur. Oh, we have a diverse community. But as we're all aware, some of that diversity is being lost, and we need affordable housing for our teachers, for our police officers, for our firemen. So I'm all about making that affordable housing available. Let's be sure we use the guidelines that are set up for those successful affordable housing projects so that the right people get into those affordable housing.
Thank you. Ms. Manro, you have 3 minutes.
So that development came in front of the Planning Commission, as you already heard, and on the only item that had to be decided by us, which was the housing density bonus. They were completely within their rights to build that building asking nothing of the city except, here, approve these plans, because they had a very solid plan. Unlike some things we see in front of the Planning Commission, this is actually being developed by the owner of the property. It's not a developer kind of swooping in and making some decisions and then swooping away again. The developer is hired by the owner, and the owner wants to see this property used, well, it's a phrase I've struggled with sometimes, highest and best use. After a lot of time and a lot of work with Bank of America, that was really, really clear. They have a 100-year lease. They don't have to go anywhere. They weren't planning on going anywhere. And time again, the negotiations with the city fell through. Finally, we had a plan. Finally, it was an idea that everyone could live with. And to make it even better, for the life of that building, there will be apartments, 29 apartments at least, that are affordable. Affordable, what does that mean? 80% of the area median income, not Decatur's median income, Metro Atlanta's median income. It's a key distinction, because we've gotten pretty wealthy as our homes have gotten more expensive, as we become more desirable. So these are homes that people can afford if they're serving your food, if they're cleaning your office, if they're coming when you call 911. Those people can afford to live in the community where they serve. I hope to continue living in a community that welcomes all kinds of folks, no matter what you look like, no matter what kind of household you have, whether you have kids, no matter whether you want to live in a great big house or a little bitty efficiency. We should have a place for you, because we are a richer community for being diverse in every possible way. So, change, everybody hates change. Human beings hate change. We are wired to resist change with every molecule we have. But change is coming regardless. And the best thing we can do is to stay informed, be aware of the change, and in this instance, the city got the chance to say, okay, you want to do this thing, it's going to make you let you build a few more apartments.
30 seconds.
And that's to the greater good. And we will be fine, because our city is simultaneously aware that we need places for people who can't pay for a condominium or a home, and we need to make it a safe place for them to bike or walk or take transit, because there's more than one way to get around always in this city. That's been the plan for a very long time. We're going to keep on making sure there's more than one way to get around safely in our city.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We've got time for one more question, and then we're going to do our closing statements. And any questions that I didn't tonight, I will send the candidates and have them answer, and we'll put that on our website. Mrs. Walsh, this question goes to you first. Affordable housing continues to be a challenge for the city in light of rapid growth and high taxes. If you are elected as commissioner, what will you do to increase affordable housing options in the city? You will have 2 minutes.
We have some tremendous thought leadership in our city around affordable housing, and I know we've been talking about it and building our repertoire of understanding and information about it since 2008, when the last study was done. And I was catching up on a work session where we heard about a new initiative that I am thrilled about, and I think it's the closest thing I've seen to a concrete solution for some of our issues around affordable housing. I want to say first, though, that affordable means different things to different people. We're talking about a broad spectrum of folks who need housing, and we don't have enough of it for low income or even middle income in Decatur. But what we talked about at the work session at last week's City Commission meeting was something around a community land trust and the opportunities it could provide for more permanent affordable housing. I think what we worry about is the cycle of housing units being created, being affordable for a while, and then going to market rates. So there's a little bit higher cost to do this type of project, where the community land trust is able to purchase the home and actually also build an ancillary dwelling unit on the same property. So a primary resident, for example, can go live in the ancillary building, such as a senior, and then the primary larger home, if you will, on the front of the property can be sold for an affordable amount. And then there's some ways it's set up so that that stays permanently affordable. But some more hard-hit things to do are talk about an inclusionary zoning ordinance, talk about increasing the baseline density bonus that we offer from 20 to 30 or, gosh, let's say 40% where we can. And I think we need to listen to the folks who've been working on it, for example, in both our Lifelong Communities Board and Better Together, and work with them on long-term solutions.
Ms. Blondo, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, the big question is what is affordable? You know, and how do you gauge that? Who's going to keep up with who gets in this affordable apartment? And there are rules and guidelines that have been used successfully in other areas. And I would just caution that the city has to figure out who can get into those apartments. And that's going to require somebody to continue to check the income of those people and all of that. But that is really, really critical. Working with the county, we were able to actually get some affordable housing in that apartment complex there on Church Street. In one of those developments, they've actually got some affordable housing, but they're running into that issue of who's going to be sure that the people in those apartments are really the people that should be in those apartments. So that would just be one caution, that we study the guidelines where these things have been successful and where the school teachers and the police officers and the people who serve your food and the people who work in your homes, those are the people who have those affordable housing. Because there have been a lot of instances. The Beltline would be one example. Of course, that was property you could purchase where affordable housing was purchased by developers, and then they jacked the prices up. So all of a sudden, the Beltline doesn't have that affordable housing anymore. So we have to be very cautious about the rules and regulations of that. But I'm all about affordability and housing to increase the diversity of our beloved Decatur.
Mrs. Monroe, 2 minutes.
There are a lot of best practices around the country, around the world, and we are in the happy and sad situation of being in a place that everybody wants to be and having to choose how we manage that growth. So we can look not just here, we can look to places like Seattle that are experiencing similar explosive growth. There's one development going on right now that's actually a cooperative between developers and longtime residents of a particular neighborhood. They are cooperatively building and building together, so nobody owns all of it. The citizens have an ownership, the developers have an ownership. They must keep working together. That means the people who've been there for a long time are not displaced. And the people who want to make better housing don't get free rein. There are a lot of good ideas all over the place. And we're going to be faced with this time and time again. This idea that might work tomorrow may not work next year. So we'll have to keep on examining the issues. And the good news is we live in a town where people want to pay attention to these things. We have a wonderful, great abundance of wise people and great staff and engaged citizens. So I know we're going to come up with good solutions. That's not the issue. The issue is just taking the time and listening to the people who live here and listening to what they want to see happen. So diversity of housing types, we all agree. And then lastly, perhaps the most affordable housing is the housing you can afford to keep. For those who've been here for a while, who would like to stay, we've got to keep talking about what lets them stay. Taxes is a big burden for many of them. Perhaps they simply can't afford to maintain their home anymore. So we can talk about community land trusts and housing banks and inclusionary zoning. All of these are great ideas, and I know we're going to come up with the right solution working together.
Mr. Martin, 2 minutes.
So if we're talking about affordable housing, we really got to figure out who are we trying to help, okay? So if you're looking at the average median income, which is $60,000, people that are 60% and below that, they really fall under the housing authority. So as a commissioner, I really want to keep up that relationship and work really hard with our housing authority, which I think does a fantastic job, and just give them all the support that they need. Now the next level up is really that 60 to 80% of that $60,000. And what are some options that we can do for them? Well, we got some little cottages that are coming in off Commerce Drive, so that could be an opportunity for them. Really, when it comes to affordable housing and we're looking at people that are right at that average median income, we don't have the housing stock that we used to 30 years ago. All these bungalows are going away. Okay, they're becoming these larger houses. So we need to improve our housing stock for people who are at that $60,000 median income that can afford them. So we've got to give our developers incentives to build them. We've got to make it profitable for them and really just bring more of those homes that people bought 30 years ago back into the city.
Thank you. And that is going to be the last of our questions this evening. I would like to give each candidate 2 minutes to make a closing statement, and we will start with Mrs. Blondo. You have 2 minutes.
All right. Well, I mentioned that the 4 particular areas that are my deepest concerns: transparency. Your voices need to be heard in the room where the decisions are made. I want to bring your voices, the citizens' voices, into those rooms. Transparency. That you know what we on the commission are doing before we do it, not just after we do it. Transparency. Traffic and transportation, that's a huge issue. I live close to downtown. I live right there on West Ponce and Pine Tree, and the traffic issues there are just frightening. So let's have that study that the city is paying for, and let's be sure that your citizens' voices are heard as those consultants work through the issues. We don't want to buy a plan that was done in XYZ, Connecticut, which I've actually seen in cases where a plan that was bought by the county and they forgot to change the name of the city. So they just bought a plan that somebody else had used. So let's be very sure that the plans we have are plans that talk to us, to the citizens of Decatur. Green space, tree hugger, let's save those green trees. Absolutely.
30 seconds.
And the education system in a diverse community. And we've talked about diversity. The story I heard probably take more than 30 seconds. But a principal at a school who's been there 12 years, he said when he started at that school, that first youngest class was very diverse, a lot of diversity. That class is graduating from Decatur High School. This year, that class has not one black child. So in one school, that's what's happened to diversity. We have to make it possible to have that diversity that we brag about. Let's work on that, and certainly the affordable housing.
We have to keep moving. We're running over time. 2 minutes, Ms. Manroe.
Thank you for being here tonight. I believe in community, consensus, and collaboration, and I ask for your vote on November 7th because I bring the best experience, the best insight to serve on the City Commission now. My focus has been formed based on what I hear from you, our citizens. We're concerned about housing, whether it's the diversity of housing, the affordability of housing, the accessibility of housing. We're concerned about safety in our community. We all love our police department. We know our officers. That's a gift that so many communities don't have. Our police department does a fantastic job, and they're striving all the time to keep improving, which is how we all should be. Even when we know we live in a fantastic community, there is always room to improve and perfect and do better. So I want to support our police department in striving for that next step, that next international type of accreditation. Lastly, we didn't get here by accident. We have a fantastic city staff with great tenure and good insight and very good instincts. Many of them live here, and again, what a gift. So many communities do not have staff living in the community where they work. The fact that we have as many as we do is an incredible gift. They care because they live here too. Many of them, I'm not naming names and I'm not saying when, but they might actually want to retire at some point.
30 seconds.
If they do, we might want to choose carefully who succeeds them. If they want to stay, that's awesome. But at some point, everybody thinks about what they want to do after this. So I thank you for being here. I ask for your vote. Hope you have a great night.
Mr. Martin, 2 minutes.
Well, I think we can all agree that Decatur is a pretty special place. I'm very excited about this opportunity to represent you in District 1. This has been a lot of fun tonight. I've enjoyed this. If there's any questions that maybe I didn't expand upon that you want to know more about, just go to timfordecatur.com. Please shoot me an email, let me know. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, go grab a cup of coffee, maybe grab a beer if you're into that. Chances are you are if you live in Decatur. So I want to be here for you, I want to listen to you, I want to be accessible to you. And the things you can see on my website and learn about, but I just want you to know that you can trust me. I've worked really hard to earn trust from a lot of people over the last 18 years of my career. And I want you to know that I will continue that fiduciary responsibility that I have with my clients as an elected official. I want to keep Decatur just as wonderful as it is 30 years from now. I got a vested interest with 2 kids. And I also want to keep our seniors in their homes. I know that that's a big deal. We didn't talk about that tonight. But I know that a lot of people that I've talked to and knocked on their doors, they may be thinking about leaving once their kids graduate. We want to keep you here. We need you here. Okay, so talk to me about that. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm sure that you enjoyed being here in Decatur.
30 seconds.
If you're 65 and older, you have the benefit of not having to pay that school tax. So let me know what you think about that. But anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I want to earn your vote November 7th.
Ms. Walsh, we'll let you have the last word. 2 minutes.
The W always means I back clean up. We all, we didn't like coffee before. We've been having our fair share, and that offer stands for me too. I'll meet you at any coffee shop that I can walk to. When I think about Decatur, I think I'm proud to live here because I get to live with folks like you in this room, but I made a description in the candidate questionnaire, and it just came so fast that I said Decatur residents are driven, hardworking, charitable, neighborly, and I'll add to that super social. I really like that too. I think we have great opportunity in Decatur. I'd like to be a leader that takes us through, like I said before, the next 10 years and beyond with smart planning, deliberate and intentional growth, and an inclusive approach. It's not just about getting input and moving on, but it's about getting buy-in through the process. I was thinking about, it's been 4 years ago now, and I wrote my bio for when I wanted to be PTA president at Claremont. And I looked at my walk card today, the thing we give out as we go walking and meeting neighbors, and my slogan, if you will, or my mantra is hard work, strong leadership. I believe in making Decatur the best it can be through hard work, strong leadership, and collaboration across interest groups. And I remember that I actually wrote that for that opportunity to interview for being PTA president 4 years ago. So it rings true for me. It's what I believe in. It's how I want to work for you. And it's why I'd like to be elected District 1 City Commissioner and fill in that 5th spot and make for a well-rounded leadership team that you can take advantage of for years to come. So I appreciate the opportunity tonight. I've learned a bunch from the other candidates and from the questions and getting to do this exercise. I'll work hard for you. I'd like your vote on November 7th, and you can also start voting early on October 16th as well. But thanks for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
And let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. Early voting does start on October 16th. Please vote in the upcoming November 7th elections. Thank you again to the library for letting us host this. And the video will be posted later this week, hopefully tomorrow on Decaturish.com. And we'll try to get to some of the other questions that we didn't get to tonight. So thank you very much. Mayor?
Sorry. I just wanted to make 2 quick announcements about some public meetings since some of this was brought up. The Reimagine Howard Avenue, the next public meeting will be at the Friends House Thursday, October 12th from 6 to 7. That has just been announced. And also, we've been having an office hour with commissioners. The next office hour is this coming Thursday evening with Tony Powers. It's from 7 to 8. You'll be able to submit questions ahead of time or during the event, and there's information on the website about that. But he'll be talking about our relationship with the schools and some of the partnerships that we have with City Schools of Decatur and how we move in this community together as commissioners and elected school board members. So I just wanted to make sure people were aware of those.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night. Drive safely.